Okay. All right, now I'm there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, bye. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, today we're going to start learning a little bit about Google Cultural Institute. This is, the places you'll go. You're going to have to bear with me. This is a new experience for me, as I'm sure it's a new experience for you guys. So we'll kind of muddle through it together. My name is Gina King. I am the librarian at Austin Academy. This is my second year as an I3, delivering great technology to teachers. I use a lot of the technology in my library and with my lessons. I thoroughly enjoy incorporating technology and engaging our students through all of the bells and whistles and cool stuff that we now have at our fingertips to teach our students. I do have my Google Level 1 and Level 2 certification. I am deciding on if I'm going to be a Google certified trainer or not. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach me, of course, at Gigi King, or you can follow me on Twitter at Library Daughter, although I'm not the best at tweeting. I do like to follow. My moderator today is Crystal Shepard. She is librarian at Webb Middle School. This is her second year, and she is my I3 partner for this year. She does a lot with library lessons. She was a reading teacher, so she's incorporating those reading teaks into her library lessons and keeping the kids up to date on the best books and technology that she comes across. And she's also famous for her Battle of the Books challenge in the spring. If you need to reach her, feel free to email her, knshep@garlandisd.net. And she's a little bit more active on Twitter, so check her out at Mrs. Book Shepherd. Okay, our game plan. We're just going to kind of go through these things. I'm going to show you how the Cultural Institute is laid out, kind of how to navigate it. And then I will kind of highlight some ways that I've found to use it in lesson planning. And hopefully if you're out there listening, you can pass it on and maybe come up with some really cool lessons. If you do end up using Google Cultural Institute, I would love to see what you did with that. So please feel free to contact me. Then we'll go through the survey and answer any questions you might have. So our ISTE standards, these are our technology standards that we're giving to our students and supporting them. I chose to connect globally because I feel like our students today, we're in the classroom, and with funding and safety and all that, we don't really get to do a lot of field trips. So our museums are missing out, and being able to allow them to critically look at art and history and photos and some of these amazing museums that we have access to online. It's allowing us to connect globally, accessing background information and taking our classroom to the extreme, to the masses. Also, I like this idea of Google Cultural Institute because it is helping our students develop those evaluation skills that a lot of times they're kind of missing. It is a high level critical thinking skill that is very difficult to kind of pull out of them, especially at the middle school level. That's where I am at. The students are going to work best. This program is going to work best with a Chromebook or, a desktop. iPads might be a little bit difficult to navigate, although it's not impossible. So the Google Cultural Institute was founded in 2011. Google is where everything is at, especially for education. They have since 2011 partnered with over 1,000 cultural organizations around the world. So if you're interested in going to Istanbul, they have a partnership with some of the museums in Istanbul, Turkey, and you can look at artwork and artifacts from the Ottoman Empire. So think about the Google Cultural Institute as a way to experience, especially art, through a field trip, or thinking about experiencing history and the things that you get to see and view and think about on a field trip to any museum. A little friendly warning about the Google Cultural Institute is that there's no such thing as censorship. So depending on your topic, you have to be really careful because the artwork could portray, nudity, violence. You have really no control over what your students are seeing. So lots of guidance will be needed, especially if you're dealing with sixth graders and younger. So if you want to kind of go along with me, you can open a new window and go to artsandculture.google.com. So here we are. It's pretty simply laid out. It's very user friendly. I'm going to challenge you to, once you start looking around on it, to be able to stop, because I found myself just enamored by this site, and I went to look at it and ended up spending about an hour and a half looking at St. Paul's Cathedral in England. So the first thing I'm going to show you while we're shopping around in here is how it's sorted. It's sorted with collections, themes, and experiments. So if I click on collections, this is showing all of the partnerships that Google has available for us. And there are about 1,000 of them. They're sorted by A to Z, or you can even locate them on a map, whatever's closest to you. I like to go through A to Z, and you can go to, let's say, the British Library. Since I'm a librarian, I love the British Library. So if I click on here and find British Library, it's going to take me into some of their collection. So here we are. It gives you a brief background of the British Library. You can read about it. There are stories that are associated with it, and it tells you things that are in this collection. Things about the United Kingdom, London, Forbury Minster. This one is really interesting. It's the Museum of Witchcraft, which has some very interesting artifacts in it. And then here are all of the items that are available for you to peruse and look at, evaluate. Some amazing artwork. Yes, Brian, I don't know if you see this drawing is the basilisk in Harry Potter. And hopefully I'm going to show you something with that soon. So this is just one way to find information, especially if you're looking at a certain topic, or you want to plan a field trip to the British Library through Google Cultural Institute. Another way to look at information is through themes. So they always have featured themes. I ended up finding a lot of things on Faces of Frida. It looks through her life, and I really discovered some things that I didn't really know about her. I know that especially here in Texas, we really celebrate her artwork, but I went through here why we need to see Frida Kahlo behind her biography, and just knowing about her back problems and how she spent most of her life in a body cast, and she would decorate it with her artwork, and just some of the things that she would do in her artwork, and some of the themes and things that you'll see in there. And like I said, kind of here, you'll see that there is no censorship. It's the artist's work as it is. Another way to search is experiments. This is kind of interesting. They want people using the collections and the artwork within Google Cultural Institutes to do different experiments. So these are collections and ideas put together by people and users. And they post it here for students and viewers to explore. So I thought that was really interesting because you do have this great these great collections being shared by users. So this one is really exciting. This is called Harry Potter, A History of Magic. And see, Brian, I told you would be excited about this. It is exploring the celestial globe. And you can explore the Harry Potter History of Magic exhibition that was sold out through the British Library exhibit. And it's amazing. It goes through some of the artwork. It goes through some of the themes, all throughout the Harry Potter books. Jim Kay is one of the artists, and it shows a lot of his artwork. You have the history of magic. So you have a bunch of articles within here going through this wonderful life that, our kids have grown up with. And, well, to be honest with you, that we've grown up with as well. You have Jim Kay's original sketches. You have How to Study Like a Wizard. So they have all of these collections that are put together based on classes that you would take at Hogwarts. So potions, alchemy, herbology, charms, you can see. What being a big geek that I am, I love this part. These are handwritten notes by J.K. Rowling and edits that she did. So like being and looking at some of her work with my eyes and knowing that she wrote it was a real fan moment for me. You have other themes like the magical creatures through the ages. This might be something that you do with a science class when you're talking about how animals evolve and the things that they develop in, in defense of themselves, and maybe create some of your own, or have the students create their own magical creatures based off the descriptions and pictures in a collection such as this. Another way we can get around in Google Cultural Institute is to explore. What I loved about this is you can do an art camera. If you do the art camera, it takes some famous pieces of art and you can scan in all the way to the brush strokes that the artist made. So if you want to look at the brush strokes on the Mona Lisa or the Starry Night, you can scroll all the way in and see this amazing paint on canvas and how it makes up the picture. The 360-degree videos will take you in places and show you all the way around it, almost like a virtual reality tour. A lot of the museums have a 360-degree radius as you like step into the Guggenheim or the British Library, whatever museum you're in. You can step into a room and look all the way around it. This is the one that I really liked was the street view. On many of them, you can walk in and do a street view of the Taj Mahal. Like I said, I did the cathedral, St. Paul Cathedral, and then I ended up spending about an hour looking around, and then I found this this dead fellow, and I ended up spending another 2 hours trying to figure out who he was, and I have yet to figure out who he is. But I did find the tomb of John Donne, which I thought was really interesting. But you just click on it and you're able to just kind of walk around within it. So that's an interesting piece of the Google Cultural Institute. Another way to go through it is to actually just search. So if you wanted to search up something, let's say I wanted to just search up Van Gogh, you know, your art teachers will really appreciate this, especially if they're doing a project on a certain artist. What I might recommend is picking a art time period and maybe seeing how it's relevant to a point in time in history and how maybe art reflects a point in historical time. So if I click on Van Gogh, because that's what I search by, it's going to give you some information about him. It's going to give you some highlights, and it has different stories about him, kind of like the Frida Kahlo site. It gave you some really insight and articles behind the artist. And so if I wanted to go to Van Gogh and I wanted to see up close the Starry Night, I can pull it up and I can scan in to see, let's see how far it'll let me go. So a little blurry, but you can actually see the paint on the canvas. Which is really just interesting thinking about this man and how great he is and how famous this piece of artwork is. So we can definitely do a search within Google Cultural Institute to search for specific things that we're looking for. Okay, I'm going to go back to my presentation. Okay, so what can you do with Google Cultural Institute? So let's say you are studying Harry Potter, or maybe your book club, y'all read something on Harry Potter. It's just very popular, especially with the new movie coming out. Maybe what you can do is have them create a collection of artwork to symbolize the main themes of the first Harry Potter book. Explore the theme and have students explain why something is part of the collection. So, example, the Ripley scroll proves that the ancient people truly believed that a sorcerer's stone can be made by chemistry. Within Google Cultural Institute, you can also have students make their own collection. So, you know, every 7th grade class in Garland does The Outsiders. Maybe what they can do is they can research the 1960s. And I believe that they have timelines within the civil rights movement within Google Cultural Institute. and they can create a collection based on pictures that symbolize different themes in the book The Outsiders. This could pretty much be done with any time period, especially if you're pre-reading something or you want them to have pictures in their head of a certain time period, a point in time, as you go through and have them introduced to that time period or that novel. Another thing that's a really good skill to use with Google Cultural Institute is comparing and contrasting. Maybe they find a historical photo of a place and they can go through, use Google Maps or Google Street View and find a current photo of the place. Maybe they can write a comparative paragraph explaining the differences, or even make it even further out and explain the differences and see if they can research and find out what happened in that spot and why significant changes might have happened. Of course, you can do virtual field trips, have a set of questions ready for them, go to, one of the museums and have them go through the whole virtual tour of it. And that's where those 360-degree view search goes in, and so they can walk in and use virtual reality to kind of see what the exhibits are and maybe discuss, as a field trip, why certain pieces of art or artifacts are within that collection. Street view, again, I talked about this. I walked around inside St. Paul's Cathedral, and it made me ask questions. And so maybe you can have them figure out a way, or you could figure out a way to have them chart their evaluation and critical thinking within a particular collection. For example, I still want to know who this fellow is. So at some point in time, I'll probably be spending some time going and trying to figure out who he is. Maybe you're doing a unit on the natural wonders of the world or natural resources. Have them use the Explore tool to see for themselves these different systems in nature. Another thing, give them a list of famous pieces to work, of artwork to view and to evaluate. If you want to have a copy of this slide deck, which doesn't have a whole lot on it, feel free to go to gg.gg/Google CI. And I think I've got permission set where you can make a copy of it. Really, the way to utilize Google Cultural Institute is going to be to get in and explore it for yourself. Think about themes and units that is in your curriculum, points in time, how you can visually represent those. And again, really explore that background knowledge before you teach a lesson. So if there are any questions, you can feel free to ask. My great moderator, Mrs. Shepard, is available for you. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me over email. I also have a website or on Twitter.
spellbinding new exhibition. Encounter magical creatures within the pages of books and manuscripts from throughout history. Gaze at the night skies and read the stars using an ancient celestial globe. Learn how to make a philosopher's stone with the gargantuan 16th century Ridley scroll. Discover the traditions of folklore and magic at the heart of the Harry Potter stories. Book your tickets to Harry Potter, A History of Magic at the British Library.